What happened?
Well, we were doing this house. It was an entire house repaint a few years ago, and I had three on the team, and I brought in this new guy, an experienced painter. You know, you hear it all the time. But we're working on this house, and they had moved out, so the house was completely empty. We had the full run of the place, and they were doing well. I had the three regulars on my crew, and this new guy. And then I would have day three, say, and I go in first thing in the morning, drop off extra paint. I'm walking around the house, and I, there's a pole in this room, there's a tray in this room, there's a ladder upstairs, there's stuff all over the house. It's like, oh, the process is at the end of the day, we put everything in one area in the shop, drape it with a sheet, put it to bed. That I preach it, and that's what I always want to see, right? So I go around the house and I'm picking up tools and picking up ladders, and I put it all back in the shop before anybody gets there. So Buddy comes in, and the crew starts coming in. They've all got their coffees, and we're talking and having a little huddle. And this guy starts losing his nut. Ooh. Someone stole my tools. Someone stole where's my tray? Oh, it's gone. He's running around the house. Someone stole his stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm standing there. It's like, well, excuse me. Everything's over here in the shop where it should be. I went around this morning and cleaned up the whole house because you had your stuff scattered all over the place. Don't touch my stuff.
Oh.
Excuse me? Don't touch my stuff? And he started going off on me and giving me attitude. So I said, okay, you know what? This is unacceptable. Yeah. I think you should leave now. I don't need your help anymore. Mm-hmm. He picks up his paint stick and comes at me with a 2-foot pole.
Oh.
And he hit me like 2 or 3 times with this thing. He's poking me, taking a swing at me.
Whoa.
Whoa. Just get out. So he ended up leaving. It was a little bit of a little shouting match, but
yeah.
Kept my cool. We got the job done in the next day or two, and I sent him a post-dated check. I posted it at like a month and a half away. Here, paid in full, but you're gonna have to wait, my friend. That's not professional at all.
Yeah. Oh man, come whacking at you with a rolling pole.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, hopefully you watched enough Karate Kid when we were younger and did some wax on, wax off blocks for him there.
Well, the other part was around the time, I think it was, or just after or just before, I actually received my black belt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the crew was standing back. Say, well, being well trained, control is the key to,
control.
Yeah. So I just kept my cool, escorted him out the door. We never saw
training paid off. Thankfully, because you're a black belt, he didn't get his butt whooped.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And for those who've never been trained, a lot of it is control, and you're taught not to attack, but to defend, and only when necessary. So, I remember one time a trainer's like, we're going to teach you how to break somebody's arm 6 times just by defending yourself. Right? Just from the blocks. So yeah. So you kept your cool. My goodness, I've had some crazy guys, but I've never had anybody come after me with a rolling pole before.
Yeah, that was the first and last time, but it was quite a morning.
Right. Well, hello and welcome to the DYB podcast. Today's guest is a second-generation contractor operating for 26 years now in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Scott Carmichael, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Steve. Glad to be here.
Oh, my pleasure. Glad to have you on. You've been a long-time DYB member, one-on-one client, and leader in Mastermind Group 11. And thank you for your influence and leadership in the mastermind and encouraging others along as well and over the years. Take us back to the beginning. How did you get started in business?
Oh, the beginning. It was a couple of years ago. Or so, like I say, I'm second generation, so I grew up in the trade. I think I was like 5 or 6 when I first started going on sites. Started off as coffee boy, started off as paint boy, filling the trays, cleaning up, folding sheets, did that for years.
And then they stepped up to filling putty holes, right? Putty and metal holes.
Yeah. Then I spent summers painting metal railings black. It's just to this day, I still cringe when I see metal railings on projects, and that's brutal. And growing up, of course, it was one of the things I never wanted to be a painter. I never wanted to get, to keep going. But growing up through high school and college, and it was always, I I wanted a car. I wanted to
Hmm.
go out. I needed money. So you end up working for dad. And, picked up a skill and a trade, which I'm very proud of and very happy. And also became, my dad was a British trained paper hanger as well. So I became a
Mm.
paper hanger, which has been an incredible experience over the years. But I went to college, not wanting to paint, wanting to
Hmm.
stay away from it. And came out with a degree in material sciences, metallurgy, and started working in the steel mills here in the city because Hamilton is a big steel town. And probably late 80s, early 90s, there was a downturn.
Hmm.
And, I get a job in a lab, I get laid off. I get another job, get laid off. And got into a union shop. They went on strike. So
Mm.
I had a young family. I had two toddlers at home, and I was married with a mortgage. So I went to my dad and said, "How about I come on board? Let's do something here." And he
Hmm.
turned around and said, "Nah, I don't think it's a good idea. You stick where you are. This industry's dead. There's nothing going on."
Mm.
All right. Well, I still had a mortgage to pay, so I went out on my own and did DW. And 26 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah.
We're still kicking. One of
Yeah.
the leading guys in the neighborhood. Yeah, very proud of what I've done, and I've supported my family. My kids
Mhm.
are now grown up, married, out of the house, and it's been fun. It's been quite a ride.
So DW got started. How did you, when you first got started? So a lot of us, like our generation anyway, when we got into the business, there weren't the paid lead rackets back then. We got started by usually working for builders and GCs. How did you get your start?
Well, back then there was a lot, and I did a lot with my dad too. It's he did a lot of insurance work
Okay.
for the restoration companies at the time, and it was
Hmm.
pretty lucrative back then. So I went knocking on doors on restoration companies, got in with a
Hmm.
few of them, and just started doing insurance repaints. And that's the bulk of it. I get going, and then you'd pick up the odd private. Did that for quite a while, quite a few years, and then I started. Well, it's like, hey, I can hang paper, so I started hanging paper,
Hmm.
and I started building a name for myself. And I'd say it snowballed from there, but I just went from job to job for years, paid the bills week to week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving right along into paper, into becoming like the paper hanger, right? So you truly developed a brand of just this excellent reputation for being the paper hanger. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I mean, if I could share another, kind of funny story. The first
Hmm.
paper I installed by myself was a powder room for a rather high end client west of the city here. It didn't go well, so I
Mm.
had to buy the paper and redo it.
Oh.
And it was at that point I think the client had turned to me and said, "Well, maybe you shouldn't hang paper." And I said, "Well, I'm going to show you." So
That's how most of us succeed. Somebody told us we couldn't do it.
yeah,
It's so true.
so I doubled down and I started hanging, and I learned, and
Yeah.
I watched, and I learned, and I became the leading installer in the city.
Hmm.
I've done the museums. I've done some of the most influential big names in the area. Yeah, became the go-to guy over the last 20 years. So
Yeah. Right
it's a
on.
humble start.
But thank you for sharing that, because the truth is, it's like there's a lot of times where we were younger. In fact, Jason Paris was just on the podcast a couple episodes ago, and we talked about how offenses create drive, and it's funny how a lot of people who succeed, it was we were spited or we wanted to prove somebody wrong. For example, I'll share my stepfather. When I was very young, said I'd never be anything. I didn't have what it takes, and that's really putting it polite. He was not near as polite when he tried to speak in this evil identity into me. Fortunately, by the grace of God, I have enough sense. Had enough sense. I was blessed enough sense to realize that that was him. It wasn't my identity, and so I had that. Plus, I didn't want to be poor, like I was as a kid, and so that together just created this insatiable desire to want to succeed, and that's how a lot of us do. It comes from something that sparked this fire to do take the risks that we take. Correct.
Absolutely, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, right on. So you're building this. wallpaper reputation for years and years and years. Um, what's the challenge with that though? Like what ceiling? What was a critical constraint you start to hit over the years as you become the go-to, like the expert? What's the critical constraint you hit?
Uh, the critical constraint was it's really scaling. I could only do so much,
Mm,
and uh, I say scaling. I mean the training and the learning curve on wallpaper is extremely steep.
mm,
Um, I've trained a couple people over the years, and there's a couple installers around that
mm-hmm.
probably could spend a couple more could use more training, but they're out there. They're trying. They're
Yeah.
trying to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but the learning curve is extremely steep. And I tell people it's every wallpaper is different. You very rarely hang the same paper twice.
How do you
So
mean? How do you mean it's different? I'm not a
well,
paper hanger. I've never
yeah.
done it, so.
Well, I mean, there's two or three different types of common residential wallpapers, but the combination of the glues, the papers, the inks,
Mm-hmm.
they're not all equal. Some some stretch more, some don't stretch. Some the colors run. Some you can't cut. Some
Mm-hmm.
cut easy. So every paper is different. By the time a lot of these jobs you do halfway through the job, you figured out the paper. Okay,
Okay.
now it's
Okay.
working. Now I'm
Yeah.
installing it. I mean, so the stress level on every job is it starts here,
Mm-hmm.
and by the time you're done, okay, I've mastered this paper, on to the next one. Now it starts all over again.
Mm.
And to teach someone that, to get into that mindset is extremely difficult. Unlike painting, you can go to Sherwin-Williams or Benny Moore and grab a can of paint, and it's literally the same can of paint.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
and you get a decent brush, and you're okay. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, there's less variables in painting than there is in wallpaper. It's a much higher learning curve, and the detail is extremely high.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's tough to train, if I hear you correctly. It's tough to train. So the ceiling you're hitting is like, look, I've been doing this for years, but it's tough to scale this.
it's tough to scale it, and it's tough to scale it at a high level
Mm-hmm.
because there's expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've even walked into jobs, over the last 10 years ago, or whatever, and the guy wouldn't hire me. I wasn't old enough. I didn't have
Yeah.
enough experience. We later became best friends,
Mm-hmm.
and I've done umpteen jobs for him over the years. But I think I'm hitting the right age for him now. It's perceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now this is interesting because I just had this conversation with Paul Dibdahl, who was the previous podcast, and so he, in the same respect, now totally different personalities, right? You're reserved, and uh, uh, he's a party waiting to happen, and he's the high eyes into this personality, kind of like April. And however, you guys both are master craftsmen in your niche, where you've wallpapered, and he's got like this gift for faux painting and just doing
Yeah.
amazing things. And but the same thing is where like that doesn't scale. It is very difficult to train it, and so with both of you, you've had to do some identity shifts, and in that you've had to also like, all right, how do we build and develop a what would be from a master craftsman's perspective just a simple residential repainting business, right?
Yeah.
And that's tough too, because I mean, there's not a lot of pride in like I can roll a wall, you know. you know. So then you fall into the well, everybody can paint category, you know.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so that's tough. Work me through. Let's walk us through that mind shift over the last few years of like, hey, being this go-to expert, the expert, in your market, wallpaper hanger, to building out a painting business that'll scale.
Yeah, it was. And I still work on it. It's still a hard transition. And painting, there's different. Oh, well, yourself. There's, and most guys do. There's different levels of painting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, we're residential painters, right? Which is completely different than commercial
Mm-hmm.
or new construction. Your expectations are different. So coming from a high expectation wallpaper to a residential repaint, your expectations are different,
Mm-hmm.
and it's getting adjusting to that. And I struggle that training my guys. Uh, okay, yeah, it's great that you're spending 2 hours painting that door, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have to look.
Hmm.
We can do a very good, decent, acceptable job for 95% of our clients in
Hmm.
half that time.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so it's a constant learn. It's a constant shift, and it's constant training.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
we're getting there.
When I was younger, back in Michigan, when I had my first company, I remember bumping into my art teacher from high school, and at the credit union, he goes, "Hey, Steve, how are you?" He goes, "Hey, I see, you're doing well with the business, and things are getting going." He says, "I just want to let you know." He says, "I'm available in the summers," and he holds up his index finger and his thumb, like he's holding an artist brush, and he says, "Steve, I can cut a really fine line." I thought, I bet you can.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, talking about taking 2 hours to cut a door, probably take 2 hours to cut that perfect line, and so, uh, there's production values that we have to consider, like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, gotta move it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had those guys too over the years.
Mhm.
It's the hiring. It's
Yeah.
finding the right guys to fit into those categories to get the
Mhm.
jobs done.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed. So, with the shift and whatnot, where does your drive come from?
My drive comes from my family.
Yeah.
Nicole and I, we want to live a certain life and have certain things available to us. So that's my drive.
Mhm. Well, for example, let me jump in. You
Yeah,
just returned from like a long weekend in New York City. Before that, you were down in Miami for
yeah.
like a week or something, South Florida. Uh, uh, Not South Beach, but maybe I don't know. So
Not this time.
prior to that, you were away for a couple weeks in Australia. You were
Yeah,
down under, right? You and Rob Vukovic were trying to hook up, connect. But yeah, so it's a really nice a transition that you've made and the lifestyle that you guys have been creating for each other, which is fantastic. So yeah, I get that. It's a
yeah.
different stage of life to slow down and be able to enjoy it all. And it's great because now the whole business doesn't rely on just you. As you keep building out your team and expanding your team. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it is great, and it's afforded us to do these things.
Hmm.
I had a client a couple weeks ago. He was a little. We don't work weekends. Right? We work Monday to Friday. Don't work weekends. And I was
Hmm.
going away for a weekend, New York City,
Hmm.
and he got a little upset that we weren't available on Saturday.
Hmm.
So the GC, a buddy of mine, he turned around and said, "Whoa, Scott enjoys life. He works hard and he
Yeah.
enjoys himself. He'll be here Monday." That's what it's
That's
about.
it. Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. um, through this, what's been a paradigm shift for you?
A paradigm shift. The last couple of years, I am not the the end all. I mean, sure, I am I run the business. I am the business, but I don't have to do everything. I don't have to be the all everything.
Hmm.
Bringing in the team, bringing in the right people, delegating, and leaning on. I mean, when I say team, I mean my
Hmm.
painters. I've got the 4 painters going now. My team's also Nicole,
Hmm.
um, and it's my suppliers. They're a
Hmm.
huge part of my team.
Hmm.
So using everything and building those relationships, and
Hmm.
it's been huge.
So what you've essentially done, Ian, is you've shed the Superman complex, which is a really big deal because you're a huge now. Is it Marvel fan or how do you want to? I don't want to
Yeah,
misspeak
it
this.
would be DC.
DC? Okay, I knew there was something there. I'm like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Is it Spanish? Is it Mexican? Hold on, I'm not sure, right? So DC fan, And I remember one time we were traveling. I forget where we were probably moving from one state to another, and we pulled up out of nowhere. We were in the middle of nowhere, traveling across the Midwest, heading back to Florida, I think from Colorado, and we saw these Superman cutouts and Superwoman or whatever. And I said, pull over. We got to jump out and take some pictures for Scott and send it to him.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. So you're a huge Superman fan. And yet,
Absolutely.
yeah, you're shedding the Superman complex. And the Superman complex, for those first time they've heard it, it's where you feel like if it's got to be done, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. And,
Yeah.
which is the wrong way to think if you want to grow and to scale, which you're doing. And that's a huge shift.
Yeah, it has been. It's been hard. It's been a challenge. But then I lean back on the comics. Superman leads the Justice League, and they help him.
Oh, awesome! Right? I didn't know that. Okay, no, I didn't. Yeah, that's good to know.
So I'm building out my Justice League here.
There you go. There you go. Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Good deal.
Yeah, it's fun.
What encouragement would you have for others who are kind of at that juncture and they're struggling to delegate and to let some things go?
You gotta keep trying. I mean, over the years, I tried things or hired people, and then you back off. And you hear the story, guys. I'll get up. Oh, I had 2 painters. I'm going by myself again. You have to sit back, evaluate, adjust, adapt, and move forward. I have done this so many times in 26 years. It's part of a normal cycle for me. And I'm going through that now. We've got the 4, we're busy, we're booked out for a couple months. So now I'm looking for more. I want to get another crew going. So I'm sitting back and evaluating, where can I find them? Don't give up. Keep going. Keep slugging, keep chopping wood, whatever analogy you want to do. It all comes down to the compound effect. Keep doing the same things. Keep moving forward daily. It will build.
Right on. The implementation of what would you say has made the biggest impact in your business?
Couple things. I mean, the implementation of the systems you've built, Steve. The DYB has really helped.
Thank you.
We share a lot of the same values and the same concepts, and staying top of mind, reaching out, building relationships. It has been huge. I mean, people stop me in the stores. People stop, not just the paint stores, but in the local stores. People comment on some of the videos and things, and some of the brand I'm building, which is great. And then some of the things that I've learned, I'm always reading. I've always got 2 or 3 books on the go. And I think years ago I read Dave Ramsey's Makeover, which was huge. Then I progressed into the Profit First. And I run the Profit First system. It's a cash flow concept. It's huge. It's really helped me get a handle and stay on top. We're running debt free. Everything is paid off every month. It's a great place to be. That's been huge.
Right on. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What are you doing to cultivate culture?
Culture. I'm always very conscious of. I get to know my team. We have a good relationship. I don't identify as the boss. I'm their leader. I'm there to coach them on the projects. I think we have a good relationship. We try to do monthly breakfast meetings. That helps.
I know you do daily encouragement.
Yeah. I do that not only with my team. I do that, with the mastermind. It's self-serving because I need it. I'm reaching out and building this and sharing this with the team, trying to build that relationship. We're all on a very good. It's a safe level, and I tell them, any questions, ask. And any concerns, ask. And I try to spend time with them when we're on jobs, one-on-one, to build that relationship. I'm their leader and their friend to a point, but I'm still the business owner. But I think we've got a really good relationship, and they work for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned the mastermind too. There's like a couple weeks ago, you're like, all right, who did their weekend review? And I've got my planner right here, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Yes, God, I hadn't done mine yet. I was like, oh gosh, I gotta.
Yeah. I mean, I'm working on mine too. So.
It's like, thanks for the reminder, hey, coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. You mentioned books. What are some business books besides? So we've got Ramsey, Profit First, Ramsey's Total Money Makeover,
Yes.
Profit First by Mike
Yeah.
Michalowicz, I believe.
I think he calls
Apologize,
himself,
Mike.
yeah,
For,
Motorbike Mike or something. I think he
yeah,
uses that
Motorbike
handle too.
Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've read a few of his books, and The
Mhm.
Profit First is probably the most influential book
Mhm.
uh, from him for me.
Mhm.
Darren Hardy's stuff,
The Compound Effect.
Compound Effect,
Mhm.
excellent book. And there's different iterations of people have written different versions of that,
Mhm.
but it all comes down to the same. Just keep chopping that wood,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
or
The breakthrough will come.
yeah, yeah. How do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
just keep slugging. Um, Trying to think of other ones. There's been so many.
What are you reading currently?
I'm reading, I believe it's Dan Sullivan's 10 Times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really, really digging that one.
I think 10x is easier than 2x, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's a
yeah,
cool
yeah.
book. Okay.
It's good. And
Mm-hmm.
reaching and the concept of dropping the 80, focusing on the 20, the 80-20
Yeah,
principle.
because the value's in the 20.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's
Mm-hmm.
gold. So we'll see. Maybe some big changes coming up here.
There we go. All right, let's do it. I'm gonna circle back to you after this interview and say, okay.
All right, yeah, it's coming. No problem.
Yeah. So we streamline operations, admin, sales processes with tech. All right. That's
Mm-hmm.
tech is a huge component in DYB because we believe in freeing up your time. So what does your tech stack look like?
My tech stack. I run. Well, I use some of the very common ones. Books are all done on QuickBooks Online, which is all done on my desktop. But a lot of the other stuff, I run most of the business on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's just evolved that way because you're always on the move.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm currently using Paint Scout,
Okay.
which is really, really, really with the production rates and the presentations, has
Mm-hmm.
really streamlined my estimates. I can go do an estimate, present that estimate on the spot. Simple ones, you're within 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. They've got it right there, which has really helped.
How important is it to present on the spot?
Oh, it's gold, 100%. You got to strike where the iron's hot. They're there, they're motivated. You're hitting the key points.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through your sales dance, and just reel them in.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A point I like to make is, could you imagine going to like a car dealership and finding the truck or car you want to buy, and the salesman says, "All right, I'll email you the price in a few days."
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Really?
You just test drove it like it's. You want to take this thing home? No.
Yeah, you're hungry, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah.
We also use Monday
Okay.
for scheduling and
Mm-hmm.
following up, and then I track the progress of the jobs on there, whether we have colors, deposits, if it's a rain day.
Mm-hmm.
And I've started rolling that out with the team, which is going to be huge to help.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get my lead a little more on that,
Mm-hmm.
to free up some of my time so I can build the team a little more this summer.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
That's the biggies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. You mentioned mastermind. How would you explain what a mastermind group is to others who aren't in a peer group, and then the value that it's been for you over the years?
Oh, you said it. It's a peer group.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all in business. We're all painting contractors. we're all fairly close, but we're all at different levels.
Hmm.
Some are beginning, some are been around a long time,
Hmm.
but it ranges, and we all have different experiences.
Hmm.
And but the key, one of the best parts is it's a safe place. It's a safe place to come, ask your questions, vent your ideas, voice your concerns, or even your issues or anything that's frustrating you at that time.
Hmm.
And because I'll guarantee someone has gone through it in the group.
Hmm.
It's a safe place to get some feedback on.
Hmm.
Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
on. Right, because being an entrepreneur can be a lonely, lonely road.
absolutely.
It doesn't have to be. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. I know we're tight on time, but before we roll out, is there a question I should have asked or a final point that you'd like to make?
um, yeah, I was thinking about this. I don't. No, you've never asked me this over the years. I don't think. But the company's DW Painting, and a lot of clients often ask me, "Where does DW come?"
My thought in the
You
in
know.
the intro, I had it, but I'm like, wait a minute. Have I? Do I know this answer? I better not. So thank you for bringing that up.
They'll probably. I get a lot of looks. DW,
Yeah.
your initials are SC. It doesn't make any sense. But it does, and that's part of my drive. My drive is my family. When I started DW, my son was a newborn, so my kids are Desiree and William. So that would
Mm,
be DW.
okay.
So the business is grounded in family. It's grounded in my
Hmm.
kids, and that's my drive.
Yeah,
So
right on, right on. That's
DW.
awesome. Okay, thank you. And you solved that mystery for me. So I'm like, I think I'm supposed to know this, or I can figure it out. You know?
No.
Right on. Well, if somebody wanted to follow up, what's the best way that they could reach out or get a hold or connect with you?
Oh, they can find me on most of the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram.
Hmm.
I'm on there, or it probably best to email me at Scott at dwpaintingandwallpapering.com. I
Yeah,
know it's about that long, but
yeah, it
it gets to
works.
me.
Yep. And I highly encourage everybody to follow you on Facebook and Instagram because you're just cranking out some just awesome videos. And they're awesome because they're so simple. You don't
Yeah,
overcomplicate them. You know, you just walk through. Here's what we're doing. You got
yeah.
like the video and video thing going, and I'm like, Scott, how'd you do that? You know, and I even reached out to you when you had the awesome captions in the corner. I'm like, how'd you do those captions? You know, and I'm not fluent on Instagram. Like I post there, but I don't really engage there. I engage on
Right.
Facebook because I like the conversations. But I know, especially for painting companies, you need to be on Instagram. And so I'm like, how do you do that Instagram fanatical thingy dingy? You know. So I want to encourage everybody to connect with you on Facebook and Instagram and check out all the cool stuff you're doing because it's making a difference. You're staying top of mind. You're crushing the UIB system and continuing to double your business, which is awesome. So thanks again, Scott. I appreciate you coming on. It's been my honor and pleasure to know you and to work with you over the years and watch all these cool changes come about.
Great, Steve. That's awesome. And thanks for having me. This has been a blast. Thanks for being there for me. I know you're just a text message away. I appreciate it. Appreciate everything you do. Thanks, buddy.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.